Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday Live. Today, we're going to be talking about Christmas puppy or Christmas dogs. Not necessarily have to be a Christmas puppy, but some of the stuff will be basically the same for both. Um, so what we're going to do is my list is not in any particular order. It's just of importance or anything. It's just thought processes and things that I feel are good to have or good to do when you have a new dog in the house, whether it's a puppy or an adult dog. So we'll start off with, if you bring a new dog in the house, what if you have an existing dog there already? Um, the problem with that is sometimes the problem can be with that is that if you have an older dog, you get a younger dog. Sometimes the younger dog can bug the crap out of the older dog, so you have issues with that. The other thing would be, so you got to kind of keep that in mind. Another thing too is you got to keep in mind that your older dog might not want a new dog or another dog in the house, whether or not there was already a dog there or not before. The thing could be is that because maybe that dog was already there. Sorry, my camera's messing up there. It was already there. Then before that dog, then they were just used to it, or if they grew up together. But that doesn't mean that they want a friend or another puppy. um, so that's something else you need to keep in mind. Also, so it could take them some time to get used to each other. With that being said, you need to make sure that you give the older dog some away time and some time to get away, or an ability to get away from the puppy, um, so that it doesn't end up hating it forever. But also, you should like let the older dog kind of take control of the situation a little bit. The older dog should hopefully help put the um, younger pup in line a little bit. So don't be afraid if your older dog is correcting the younger dog a little bit, as long as it doesn't seem to be unfair corrections. Um, so then another thing is, one other thing too is, what if you decide to get two puppies from the same litter? Um, that can be problematic because they could bond up together, harder together than they do with you because they came in together. Um, but So you got to be careful of that as well. They can bond with each other. Plus, they can bring double the problems. Because sometimes people will go, "Well, I'll get both puppies because then they can keep each other company." Well, you basically just bought puppies, for each other, basically. So, and then you could be out of the picture. So, my suggestion to that is to make sure that you do a lot of things with them separate from each other so that they learn they can exist without each other, that they don't become very dependent on one another. Uh, I also did a video on that. I'll post that up in the comments as well, um, later on, so you can watch that. Some of these things I'm not going to hit too thoroughly. This is just some really basics. Um, and then if please start asking your questions or have your comments now, and I'll answer them at the end when I'm done running through my little list here. Um, so of course, you have items you need. Obvious stuff: bowls, collar, leash. Thing about leashes, a lot of people want to get these flexi leads that zip in and out, or these really long lines for their dog, which that's fine and all. But if you have no control of your dog, just remember you're going to have no control of your dog at 20 or 30 feet of line, in which case you can cause a lot of chaos for other people and other dogs around. So keep that, so make sure you keep that in mind when you're doing that stuff. If you have your dog out on a long leash or a flexi lead, make sure you're in an open area if you don't have control of your dog. Um, it's just courteous to other people and other dogs. The other thing would be, so like, oh, sorry, my regular leashes, they're usually like 4 to 6 feet long. You don't need it to be any longer than that walking through town. There's no sense in that. You're just asking for problems. The other thing is I prefer collars over harnesses, just because harnesses are made for pulling. I don't care what they say, where they clip, what they do, or what video shows them doing this miraculous thing. Harnesses are made for pulling. It is plain and simple. Um, The other thing is treats. You'll need lots and lots and lots of treats, because when you start doing your obedience and your rewarding, you want to make sure that you treat them a lot. If you like something, you reward it. The more you reward it, the more they're going to offer it. So keep that in mind as well. Make sure they're a good treat, something they like, not something that you think that they might like just because they're all healthy, or they say this or got a picture of something. It's a treat that they like. So whether it means you got to cut up your hot dogs into small pieces, or some dogs, they just love their kibble like it's a treat. So you could even use that if that's the case. But you want something with high value when you're training. The other thing is food. Now, I feed a raw diet to my dogs. So with that being said, but that's my choice. Um, if you decide to go that route, I just say that you go and you research it. Just keep an open mind that there's a lot of information out there. It can be very overwhelming. So just start somewhere simple and go from there. Um, Somebody that I go to and for a lot of information is Kimberly over at Keep the Tail Wagging. She's got some really good information, and so does Scott, the dog dad. He's got good information as well. So, which his is also Raw Feeding 101. The other thing is I suggest is a crate. You, I see better dogs do better on plastic crates than they do in wire crates, because I feel like they're safer. They den up better. Wire crates, they can pee out of them. They can grab the wires. They can chew on them. Things of that nature. So I suggest the plastic style crates. Also, you don't want it too big. You want it to be just big enough for your dog to stand up and turn around and lay back down. If you give, especially a small dog or a young puppy, too big of a crate, you could end up with potting issues. They could pee on one side of the crate and then go and lay on the other side of the crate. So be careful of that as well. So those are just some of your basics that like I said, that I feel that are needed. I do have a crate training video as well that I could even put in there. Like I said, I feel crate training is very important. A lot of people think it's cruel, but to me, it's the dog's room. It's a private area for them. It should never be a punishment. I feed my dogs in their crates. I give them toys in their crates. When you have a puppy, they're going to need some downtime. A crate is a perfect place to put them in there, just like little kids. They need naps, or they get kind of rambunctious and start getting into a lot of things. And also, God forbid something happens to you, or an emergency happens to where you have to crate your dog for some reason, whether it's you or somebody else has to go get them and crate them. If they're seeing a crate for the very first time, they've never seen one before, in a stressful situation, now you're throwing this dog even into more stress because of everything that's going on. You're going to end up giving your dog a lot of problems when you could have just solved this at a young age for them by teaching them that a crate is not a bad thing. So that's kind of a brief rundown on items in crate training. Now, training overall for your puppy. You have an imprinting phase with your dogs. It starts out at 6 weeks and runs to a 16 to 20 week period. This is where your dog sucks up every bit of information it has. So if you get a puppy, you need to start training now, right now. That is very important, or you're going to miss all kinds of just all kinds of stuff. You're going to miss just a phenomenal window. What they learn during that time stays with them for the rest of their life, good or bad. So make sure that you take advantage of that window of time. So also, when those of you that have already got a puppy, you can still do this too. But if you haven't gotten a puppy yet, my suggestion is start looking for trainers now. Go pick some out. Go see some. Go audit their classes. If they won't let you come watch and talk to them and talk to their clients, go somewhere else. I always tell all my people, or anybody that I talk to that asks me about training, I invite them to come out and watch and talk to my people and stand there and be part of it. That way they can see what I do. I have no secrets, no hidden agendas. So this helps, let them know whether or not this is a route they may want to take or not. They may come to me and say, oh, this is not the kind of training I want. Well, if that's the case, then, that's, I'd like for everybody to love me as a trainer, but not everybody's going to like me. So, but this gives them a chance to come out and see what I do. like I said, make sure that you talk with their clients as well. Like go around and talk to the people that are there and see what they have to say. If you start training with a trainer and you don't like something that they do or like how they train, don't be afraid to leave. I've literally had people tell me that they stayed until their lessons were done because they didn't want to quit, even though they didn't like the trainer. To me, that's kind of silly. Like if you don't like it, don't stay there and do training you don't agree with that you think might be detrimental to your dog. Ask for your money, what your money back that you're owed or whatever, and then get out of there. Exposure for puppies, especially, but even older dogs can benefit for this. Make sure you get them out everywhere as puppies. Take them everywhere, but try to make sure it's always a positive exposure. Get them out, see the world. The world is a huge place. If you keep them pent up in the house for long periods of time, and then they're 6 months to a year, and you finally decide to take them out, some dogs, that freaks them out because they didn't realize the world was so big. And I don't just mean the neighborhood. I mean get them out places, because your neighborhood can be an extension of your house. So you take them out of the neighborhood, they can be completely different. So you want to make sure you get them out and about and let them see the world. One good example is taking them to kids' playgrounds. When there's not a bunch of kids everywhere, I take them and I let them run around the jungle gym stuff, all the equipment. I throw food all over, hot dogs, whatever, and I get them walking and climbing over things. That way they get used to different surfaces and textures. It builds confidence in the dogs when they get to climb over things, and they learn to confidently work on it and have fun on it. Take them to stores. Take them to any of your, hardware stores or any store at all that allows them to go. Take them out there and let them explore everywhere. Let them see what's going on. It's very important that they see that. Like I said, if you wait till they're too old, it could be too late. And then you might end up with dogs with anxieties and fear because you didn't get them out soon enough. And like I said, you want to get out and you want to get them training now. As soon as you get them, you train them. Another thing too is most dogs want to have a job. They want something to do, whether it's just simple obedience. They want something to do. It's good for them mentally. Or if you're thinking that you might want to do something with your dog when he gets older, you start that now. If I have dogs that people think they want to do search and rescue, you start teaching them and imprinting that stuff on the job on them at an early age. You don't wait till they're older. Not that they can't learn it when they get older, but it's a lot easier to start learning it when they're younger. And as opposed to waiting till later on, just like with us. If you want to learn something, it's easier to learn it as a child than it is to learn it as an adult usually. That's why they, a lot of these people, they teach their kids 6 languages and how to play the piano and violin, around 2-3 years old, because it's a lot easier for them to learn at that time than it is most time for them when they're older. So like I said, most dogs want to have a job. So if you think you might want to do something with them, get them out there and get them started at that as early as possible, as soon as possible. All right, let's see. Page 2. Potty training. It's always a hard one, especially for small dogs. Dogs do very well on a schedule, especially, puppies. If you keep a schedule for them, that way their body gets used to it. I don't suggest puppy pads because you're just still teaching them to go to the bathroom in the house. The pads may keep the mess from getting to the floor, but it doesn't keep the smell from penetrating, in which case then they're going to keep wanting to go back to that area even when the puppy pads are done. Don't be lazy. Just start taking them outside. When you take them out, you leash them up, you take them outside, you stand outside in an area like a little post. You don't be excitable or anything. You stand there and you let them go to the bathroom. If they've eaten and they've drank, then they need to pee and they need to poop. If they don't do either one, then I bring them back in and I put them either in a small confined area if I can't keep an eye on them, or I put them in a crate. And then about 15 minutes later, I'll take them back outside and do the same thing. I just stand there and I don't say anything. I don't want to be exciting, because if I'm exciting or run around or talk to them, then they may want to play instead of go to the bathroom. And I will do that until they do both. Once they pee and they poop, then they can come run around with me and hang out. But like I said, you don't want to give them free roam of the house if they've just eaten, because they're going to go hide somewhere and take a pee behind something possibly. If you don't catch them doing it, then it's too late. And not only that, but what if they go behind something? It may be weeks before all of a sudden you start smelling a horrible, horrible smell. And then in which case now you've got a habit that you got to break off your, from your dog. So like I said, don't be lazy. Just don't use puppy pad. Just use your crate and be consistent with what you do. Get them outside. And I don't worry about rewarding my dogs when they go potty outside. It's a natural thing. Just potty them. If they're a dog that likes to play outside and wants to be outside, hang outside with them for a minute afterwards. Don't rush them right back in. If you start rushing your dog in, they could learn that if I stay out here, if I don't go to the bathroom, I stay out here the longer I stay. And then what happens is then they go inside, they're bored, they pee. So if your dog wants to be out there, pee and poop and hang out with them for a minute and then bring them in. So, what if you adopt your dog instead of purchase your dog? That's fine. Adoption is great. I have dogs that we've adopted in this household, and we have dogs that we've purchased in this household. Just remember, it takes adopted dogs time to get used to being in your household. So most dogs, it can take them a little while. It can take, it can take up to, 3 months for them to fully feel like they're in here. Now, some dogs, they'll come in the house, they'll kick their shoes off, take off their pants and sit down in their boxer shorts, and they move right on in. But most dogs take a little time to get acclimated to where they're at. So keep that in mind with your adopted dogs. It doesn't mean you shouldn't still do some training with them. As soon as you get them, start your training, but be mindful that your dog may not be the dog he is right now. I've had people call me and talk to me about their dogs, and they said, yeah, I adopted my dog and he was great. He was all calm and he was sweet and just laid around and relaxed all the time. And then a couple months after having him, he's swinging from the chandeliers and chewing on things. It's because, well, now he's moved in, he feels comfortable. So now he will do that kind of stuff. His true nature comes out. So keep that in mind. The dog that you brought home from the shelter in a few months may not be that same temperament of dog once he's got himself comfortable and he feels like he's, at home now. Toys, interactive toys. Interactive toys are great. It's better than feeding out of a bowl. It works their mind as well, just like obedience works their brain. If you get a Kong or something where they actually have to work at eating, that is so much better for them. Years and years ago, dogs used to have to work 10, 12-hour days. And then so if you fed them from a bowl, who cared, because they just worked all day. But now they're denting couches for 8 to 10 hours a day instead, and they get their food out of this nice little shiny silver bowl, and they're not having to do any work for it. So it kind of dumbs them down a little bit. Use toys to your advantage. I'm not so much into the puzzle ones, because a lot of dogs, once they knock it out once or twice, then they're done with it. That's why I like things like your Kongs. Kong also makes this little weeble wobble thing that wobbles back and forth, and food, they have to knock it around, falls out. Star Mark, they make a bunch of different interactive toys that you can get where you stuff little balls and they have to roll it around too. Or if you want to, you can make your own. Get you a little 3-inch round piece of PVC pipe about a foot long, put a cap on the end, then put one that doesn't move, then put a twist cap at the other end, drill some holes in it, big enough for the kibble to fall out of, throw your kibble in there and let the dog roll that around and knock food out of it. It's a good way to, it's a good way to help them work for their food. So that's that's another thing that you can do with your dog. And remember, whether you adopt them or they're puppies or they're older or you purchase them or whatever, remember, they're new to the family. Be patient. Be patient with them. They got to learn. They're not just going to come in the house and know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So, another one be veterinarians. Picking a veterinarian. I usually like to have 2 veterinarians if possible, just because in case you can't get into one and it's an emergency, it's nice to have 2. That is something that I like to do as well. Um, and then, if possible, also, take your time and pick out your veterinarians. Go talk to them, go see some, go talk to people, talk to your friends and see who they like and why. A veterinarian is just as important as a good trainer. So take your time. Don't just run into one. If you're not happy with that one, then go see another one until you find one that you do like. That's, like I said, I have two really good veterinarians here real close to my home. I'm very fortunate to have them within a mile of me. So it's nice. It's very nice to have that. Sometimes one's full and can't get me in, or the hours are different. So that's kind of helpful. Another thing too is take your dog to see the vet before you have to. It may help out with dogs that have fear of vets, because if you think about it from their point of view, most of the time, the only time a dog goes to see a vet, they go in, they get poked, prodded, things stuck up their butt, stuff stuffed in them, eyeballs, lips, all this crazy stuff happens to them in an area, in an environment that they're not familiar with. But plus, you got to remember too that there are people and other animals there that are stressed, and they're picking up on that stress. So they're already thinking something's wrong with this place. So now you're bringing them in, and all this weird crap happens to them. And then when it's all said and done, and they've already been, been probed like some aliens took them, then they get one little treat, and here you go, and that's it. All right, and on your way. And then they're not in again until a year from there, or unless something bad happens. So I like to take my dogs to the vet every so often when I first get them, before I even go, and just go into the veterinarian's office and say hey to them, let them give some treats. I feed a bunch of treats in there. We make it a good thing, and just kind of hang out, in the place, to realize that it's not necessarily always bad. And that may help you out with your, with your visits to the veterinarian. So, do you know your breed? Why did you get that breed, or why are you choosing that breed? Make sure you make good decisions. Don't get it just because it's cute, or because you saw it doing really cool stuff on TV, because that's not a good reason to get one. You get one because you saw it doing really cool stuff on TV. Well, those dogs, that's what they do. That is their job. Think about how much energy those dogs have to work all the time, and to train like they have to train to do that job. So don't get it because it's cool looking on TV. You need to know your breed. Will that breed fit in your household? If you are not an avid, and you're not a very mobile person, you don't do a lot of stuff, then don't go out and get a high-strung breed like a Malinois or a Dutch Shepherd or a German Shepherd, because you are not going to be a good fit for that dog. That dog is going to go crazy and drive you crazy and tear your house down. So that's a good thing to make sure you pick your breed, your breed. So, fear and anxiety. The thing about that is you got to be careful with that, because just because you go to a breeder doesn't mean that your dog couldn't have it genetically. A fear issue or an anxiety issue, those are a genetic trait that are passable. The thing is if they're born with it because their parents have it, they're going to have it. You're not going to change that. It's not something new or different that's going to happen, overnight. So you're going to have to deal with that for the rest of their lives in some form or fashion. It doesn't mean that you can't work with them a little bit, but they will more than likely always be fearful if it's genetic. If it's a learned thing, then hopefully, depending on how ingrained it is, if it's a learned fear or anxiety, you can hopefully be able to untrain them from that. But like I said, that also depends on how bad of a trauma, how badly traumatized they were. So that's something else to think about and look for when you go see, go visit the shelters or go visit a breeder. Take a look at the parents. If there's something about the parents when you go to a breeder that you're not sure of, you walk. Simply walk. If they won't let you see the parents, then walk. The parents should not be protective of the puppies and try to bite you and lash out at you. That's a bunch of BS when people tell you. I bred 2 protection dogs that were phenomenal at protection. They were my own personal dogs. You could go in and pick up my dog's puppies. Why? because my dog had a good mental state of mind. She had no anxiety. She had no fears. So there should never be an issue with that. Um, if you're adopting a dog, maybe think about fostering it first. Bring it home. See if it's a good fit for you. That way, if it's not, then you can take the dog back. There's nothing wrong with if a dog doesn't fit, your household. You shouldn't feel like obligated, like you have to hold on to it and keep it. If it's not a good fit, then you're not going to like the dog. You're going to be stressed. It's not fair to them because they didn't do anything wrong, and they're going to be stressed, and life is just going to suck. So, keep that in mind. If it doesn't, so when you go to adopt, make sure you foster them first. Another thing is, don't force people on your dogs. If your dog doesn't want to go see somebody, don't make them go up to them. You're just asking for issues. Your dog is trying to tell you, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go see these people. Don't force your dog on people, because now you're going to put it in a bad situation where it might end up feeling like it has to defend itself. And when it does, now it's going to bite somebody, and now your dog's a bad dog. Don't do it. And remember, you will both make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You and your dog are going to mess up. My dog's going to mess up. Why? I mess up, and I'm human. So my dog doesn't have the same understanding as I do. So they're going to mess up. Just remember, it's how you handle it is what matters. When you're out with your dog, when you're out with your dog, some learning is always happening. Training is always happening in some form or fashion. Somebody's getting trained, whether the dog is training you or you're training the dog, somebody's getting trained. So keep that in mind. That is all that I think I have. That's all I have for this list right now. Like I said, it's just kind of a go through list on things to think about. This wasn't how to solve issues or to fix things. This was just things to look for and to think about if you're getting a new puppy in your household. If you have any questions, please start putting them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer any of them. Or if you happen to watch this later on, ask a question and I will get back on and I will answer that for you. Real quick before I get started on answering the few questions I do have, if you don't mind, please like, subscribe, and share, so that I can try to start growing and putting out more content for people. So, all right. So let's get to a few questions I have. And if I don't get any more before it's time to go, then it may be a little bit of a short night. So Lydia says, what's your best and healthiest dog treats in your opinion? The healthiest dog treats are going to be the ones that are more natural for the dogs, like real meat, not the processed stuff. But some dogs that may not be a big deal to them. So if you're doing a reward and you want a high value reward, it could be hot dogs. That could be, that may be the treat. Or some nasty dog treat may be what gets them to do their job just because. But when I'm training, I want something that they have as high value. Would you recommend would you recommend a new puppy or adopting? They all have their benefits, but they also have their downsides. Adopting, of course, you help a dog get out of a shelter, hopefully, and hopefully if it turns out to be a decent dog, then he ends up with a good life and everything is a-okay. Just if you purchasing a dog, you tend to have more of an idea what you got. Usually they come with health certifications. What their temperament should be like. It's not a 100% guarantee, but you should know what their temperament's going to be like, especially if you see the parents and you can tell by them how they're acting. Now, puppy versus older dog, same thing. It's, you start as a puppy, then you're training this dog. So any mistake that this dog or problem this dog has, you did it. It's not coming with baggage already. But when you get an older dog, you kind of see where they're at already. See what I'm saying? So like you can mold this young dog and it's a lot easier to mold it. And they're very pliable at that age, where when they're older, sometimes it's a little harder, but the upside is you know what you have already usually. Um, let's see. So, like I said, real quick on that, adopting and buying is a very touchy subject. For some people, everybody thinks that every dog should be adopted, but for me, if I have a dog, if I have a job that I need my dog to do, I may need a specific breed, or I may need to know that the dog I'm getting has a natural retrieve or a good nose or something like that. So if I'm using it for search and rescue or tracking or narcotics, I want to know that that dog's bloodline is very good using its nose. If I'm doing protection work, I need a dog that has a very confident level to him, no anxieties, has a full grip. And those are passable traits. So you pick that up. So if you see the parents, you can see what these puppies should have. The thing about adopting is, like I said, you're helping a dog. Doesn't mean you can't go through and check dogs out and like I said, foster some until you find the one that you like. Uh, the problem with adopting dogs is you don't always know 100% what's in their closet. You could go a year and then one day your dog has an issue with something. You're like, holy crap, where'd that come from? So those are kind of real quick some of the pros and cons of like a new puppy, or adopting or purchasing and adopting. So, how big of a crate should you use? Hey, Amanda. Um, like I said, the crate should be. You don't want to have a little tiny dog in a giant crate. That's there's no sense in that. If you can somehow block it off, that's fine, because I know crates can get expensive. But you want that crate to be just big enough for the dog to stand up and be able to turn around. Anything too big, especially for a puppy, and you may end up with pottying issues. They may start peeing and pooping in the crate, in which case, if they learn that they can do that and they get used to it, they may learn that laying in their own feces is fun and they won't care. And if that happens, that is hard to break. That is one of the hardest things ever to break on a dog is if they learn that if they can become a dirty dog and they don't care. So keep that in mind. You don't want it huge. So, um, Lydia says, "What's my favorite dog diet?" I feed a raw diet. That's my choice. I've been doing that since like 2004. Um, I feel a raw diet is better for at least for my dogs, because I know my dogs. Uh, they're athletes. They work hard. They should eat well. I don't the stuff that you buy in bags. It's processed. But then again, though, if you don't have the time or the money or the knowledge or the time to get the knowledge, then you do what's best for your dog. Which, if you're feeding kibble, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, I'd rather you do it properly than not do it right. So, like I said, if you can't do a raw diet because you're not sure, then don't do one. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't ever down anybody for feeding kibble. That's their choice. That's the way it is. So, can you do a video on what to look for in a new dog before buying one? Yes, I can do that for you. I will write that down. Um, so, video on buying a new dog. Okay. There we go. Got it. So that'll be one that I can do at some point in time in the future. Any other questions? Anybody have any other questions? I'm trying to think if I can think of anything that I might have missed. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff out there. Like I said, this was a very, very broad, because any of these subjects I could have broke down into their own little videos. As a matter of fact, I do have lengthy videos on several of these by themselves. So, at what point is having too many dogs is what Lydia wants. Well, I think once you pass like 3, then what's one more? So the answer is there's never too many dogs. What kind of toys do I prefer for puppies? Um, for puppies, I'm because they're young and stuff like that. I don't worry about their teeth too much. So anything they can chew on, like I like raw meaty bones. And the reason being is because it's not a big deal if you have a voracious chewer when they're puppies and they break a puppy tooth. It's not that big of a deal. When they get older, I will watch what type of raw meaty bones I get for them. If I have a dog that really is a big time chewer, then I won't get them an antler or I won't get them weight bearing bones because those are super hard and they might break a tooth on them. So, in which case, then I use like I'll get like a knuckle bone or something in that nature that's a little softer. So, uh, but I still love to use the Kongs even for the puppies. I mean, if you got the time and you only have like one or two dogs and you have the ability, feed your dog from a Kong instead of out of the bowl. Let them eat their meals. Pack their Kongs full of stuff for the day's worth of food. Throw it in the freezer, let it freeze. And then throughout the day, you just throw them a Kong or two. You come in the house, you're going to leave to go somewhere, throw them in the crate, you give them a Kong or two. You come home from working all day long, and you're trying to get stuff done, you throw them, you give them a Kong and let them chew on that for a little bit. So, um, so that's, just it gives them time to work on stuff other than just sitting around and doing nothing. Because if they have to work there at eating, say your dog it takes six of those large, because I don't get the big giant Kongs, because one giant Kong, they get done with it, it's over with in no time at all. I'll get what's known as the large Kong. It's, yay big, sorry. It's a big, not that you can probably really tell how this is, but it's a large one. Like the bigger dogs, it may take 6 to 7 Kongs for one meal. Well, just imagine if it takes your dog 5 to 10 minutes per Kong, that can be up to an hour of them working or an hour of downtime for you. By the time they get done eating, they're going to be tired. So, like I said, that's why I like interactive toys if you can get them. If you have the ability to do that. Lydia says, "How do you know what sport is best for your dog? Go try them. Go see what's out there. Look stuff up and see what they like to do. If your dog loves to run around the backyard like an idiot, maybe he wants to do some kind of running sport. Maybe he wants to do coursing or fast cats. If your dog, you run off and hide and your dog likes to go and find you all the time and does a really good job at it, maybe it'll do search and rescue or tracking, even if it's just for fun. Uh, you could try weight pulling, look up different stuff and see what they like. Take them and see what they do. I mean, it's kind of up to the dog. I don't force my dog to do anything. If they don't look like they're having a good time, then they don't do that sport. But if they're enjoying it and they look like they're having fun and they want to do it and they look excited when they get there, then hey, then maybe that's a sport for them and for you. Any kind of sport is good that you can do with your dog. Any kind of anything you can do with your dog is good. How do you find a good trainer for you? Lydia says, go and talk to trainers. Go see them. Like physically go see them and see what they do and talk to their people. It's as simple as that. I mean, really and truly, just don't go and fall for the first trainer. Go see multiple trainers. Go talk to multiple trainers. You know. Oh, that reminds me. Thanks, Lydia. It's not about training, but about getting dogs. If you haven't got your dog yet, make sure you go see different breeders. Go talk to a bunch of different breeders. Don't just go to the first one and take that dog. Like talk to them. Go meet them. Go drive and see them. When we were looking for a dog for Lydia, I literally drove 6 hours round trip, walked in the door, took a look at the litter of puppies, and said thank you and turned around and left because I didn't like what I saw. I drove 6 hours for a 30-second look to leave. I mean, you got to remember, this is an animal that you're going to have, at least probably 12 years or more. So make sure that you're getting what you want. Don't just get it because you feel like you have to, or because it picked you or whatever. Like, make sure this is what make sure this is the dog you want. So don't be afraid to not take. Don't be afraid you're not. Who cares if you're wasting their time? It doesn't matter. They're a breeder. They should want somebody who wants their dog, or they should have a good dog for you. So don't worry about this is your dog, not their dog. You're picking for you, not for them. So, any other questions? Anybody got any questions? If not, then we may be ending it today. Like I said, just remember, mistakes are going to be made. It happens. I mean, it's not a huge ordeal. It's going to happen. So just, just keep, just make sure you're having fun with your dog. Make sure your dog's having fun. Everything you do with your dog should be enjoyable. So, all right, everybody. Well, like I said, if you have any comments or think about something later on, or if you happen to be watching this later on, please ask. Feel free to ask me a question. Please, like I said, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good jazz. Try to get it out there a little bit. Help me out a little bit. Thank you. For those of you who logged in, even healing, yes, even healing is fun, Amanda. So, but like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, and I will jump back in and answer them. Or if you have if you have a topic you would like me to cover, please message me, and I'd be happy to cover that topic in the future. But other than that, everybody have a great evening. I don't think I'll be doing another live before Christmas, so everybody have a great Christmas and a great New Year. And like I said, thanks for coming in, listening. Good night.